Hello, this is Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, at about $111 per hundredweight, this week's fed cattle prices are at the same level they were at in early 2011, which was 8 years ago. So does this mean that consumers' demand for beef has substantially weakened? No, it does not. 8 years ago, when fed cattle prices were at the same price as today, the average all-fresh retail beef price was about $4.60 per pound. In May of this year, the latest data available from USDA, the all-fresh beef retail value was at a near-record high at about $5.90 per pound. In fact, fed cattle prices were about $165 per hundredweight in 2014 when retail beef prices first reached the $5.90 per pound consumer price. So why are cattle prices the same as they were 8 years ago when the retail price of beef has increased by about 30%? Aren't cattle prices supposed to be reflective of beef prices? You know, what is absolutely amazing is that regardless of how distorted cattle prices are in relation to beef demand and beef prices, the conventional representatives of the meat industry tell cattle producers exactly the same thing. They say the distortion isn't a distortion at all and is easily explained by the economic law of supply and demand. They say if you want to increase the value of your cattle, then you need to help them build more beef demand, both domestically and globally. Well, congratulations, you did just that. A recent article in Meeting Place stated, and I quote, "Stronger recent domestic demand for beef has prompted an increase in imports from major suppliers, a trend that is expected to continue for the rest of the year," USDA said, unquote. So your mandatory checkoff dollars that are supposed to increase beef demand so cattle prices can improve are instead providing opportunities for multinational meat packers to import more cheaper, undifferentiated imported beef in order to satisfy domestic demand and to lower the price for your cattle. Is this what cattle producers signed up for when the beef checkoff program was implemented? To be fair, that's exactly what the checkoff was designed to do. It was designed to increase generic beef demand to facilitate more beef imports, and that's exactly what it's doing. And those who are running the beef checkoff program are working aggressively to deflect cattle producers' attention away from their broken markets. Instead, they want cattle producers to focus exclusively on exports, and they tell producers that exports contribute over $300 per head of every fat cattle slaughtered in America. As they say in the movies, let's analyze that. First, the annual value of beef exports is not based on live cattle prices. So the attempt to hoodwink producers with a calculation that falsely assumes that live cattle producers receive the exported beef price is downright deceptive. That $300 value is based on the price that exporters sell their finished beef products to foreign buyers. At a minimum, it's a wholesale price, and more likely it is a retail plus price, even higher than domestic beef prices. So the $300 goes to the beef exporter, not to the cattle producer, and those exporters are currently earning record to near record margins between the price of cattle and the wholesale price of beef. In other words, if you're a producer, the way to look at this is that someone in the industry is making a lot of money on exports, but it isn't you. The second deception associated with this export value calculation is that it ignores the other and more crucial side of the balance sheet. Just as you have credits and debits on your financial records, in trade you have exports and imports, and it's net exports that tell you the real story of whether the trade balance represents a profit or loss to your industry. The 5-year average net export value, based on the number of fed cattle slaughtered in the U.S., is a negative $33 per head. During the last 2 years, when the value of exports exceeded the value of imports, the net export value based on the number of fed cattle slaughtered was $12 per head in 2017 and $37 per head in 2018. So there you have it. Your cattle market is broken and the entire meat industry continues feeding you baloney to ensure that you won't organize yourselves to effectively fight what is truly yours. The right to have a competitive market allocate your competitive share of the beef industry's profits. With that, we're out of time. We hope you have a productive week. Thank you and goodbye.